All right, good morning. I'm with Robert Winton, Senior Vice President of Gunnison Copper. The symbol is GCU on the TSX big board in Toronto. Robert, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Robert. How about yourself? I probably
Excellent.
don't have the setting that you have, but I'm down in sunny Florida with you as well.
Yeah, we're both in a hot environment, and it's super hot in Arizona right now, and things are heating up at Johnson Camp. So tell us about the startup of the solvent extraction plant at Johnson Camp.
Yes, sir. The startup of the solvent extraction plant sort of came a little quicker than we were anticipating. We started leaching obviously a number of weeks ago. We had a quick discussion about that, updating investors on the status of leaching. And quite quickly, PLS, the pregnant leach solution, the copper-rich solution, started showing up at the base of the pad. So we determined that it was time to get the solvent extraction plant up and running. We did that, I believe, 31st of July, up and running. And with that comes cathodes. So we started putting the cathodes back in, the blank cathodes for producing pure copper. And that began about a couple days later. So as we sit here today, we are plating copper, ready for that first harvest in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be on site next week, and I'm really interested to see this plant and the process. Of course, I've seen it at various other locations previously, but kind of a cool thing to actually watch take place, because you're creating these 100-pound basically copper plates through this process, and it's a very cool science experiment. I guess it's not an experiment because you know the outcome, yeah. But it's very cool science.
It is very cool science. Yeah, it's taking copper in a solid form, in a mineral form from a mine. You throw some acid on that copper and make copper sulfate ultimately, which is most people have seen copper sulfate. It's a very pretty blue color. So yeah, as you're touring through our plant next week, you're going to see that blue color sort of growing. It gets up to about 40 grams per liter, which is a very rich color. And then, as you stated, we apply some electricity to that through an anode cathode process, and the plating of pure 5/9 pure copper is the end result. And of course, that copper is then ready for the U.S. domestic market. So Gunnison Copper is the next great producer of made in America copper.
Yeah, that's very exciting. So in the news release, you show on the third figure, the third photo in the news release, basically these plates are getting ready to turn into copper cathode plates. So tell us about the ramp up timeline. You said you're ahead of schedule here. What's this ramp up going to, look like throughout the rest of 2025?
So for the rest of 2025, it's just a rinse and repeat process on our oxide run of mine process, the one that we started in July, and that will start producing copper here in the next couple of weeks. So that is just mining more ore, getting that up onto the pad, hitting it with acid, producing copper. So that process is just going to rinse and repeat. It'll start to ramp up as the mining rate ramps up and sort of get into that hundreds of thousands of pounds a month kind of production rate. And then the next step is finishing the construction process on the Newton process. So that is in play right now. We look to start crushing and stacking of Newton-rich ore in September, and that will ultimately lead to copper production from the Newton process by the end of 2025. So as soon as that Newton process comes up, then the full ramp up begins. And again, with that goal of getting 25 million pounds per year coming out of our operation here in Arizona.
So this year is sort of a proof of concept year, showing that you can ramp this up and you can sell copper cathode, into the American market. But then 2026 is really the year where a transformation takes place, and you're processing the sulfide copper, and the run rates, the throughput is much higher.
That is correct. Yeah, that throughput gets to that. It's about 2.1 million pounds per month is sort of the capacity of our plant. And as that Newton process gets ramped up, and again, the headlines coming from that will be a lot of discussion on how that process is going, how commissioning of a brand new technology is going on our site, as well as how that is starting to produce. So Newton is highly invested, and Gunnison Copper is very proud to have them as a partner in this this one of a kind and first ever demonstration of their technology.
Yeah, I think that's important to really emphasize. This is the first ever demonstration of this technology. I mean, this is cutting edge new technology of how to process copper sulfides, and it's right here in Arizona at a time when made in America copper is more important than ever. So I'm really interested to see how that evolves, and the big headlines that are going to come from that as soon as it's up and running. So tell us about the high value programs that have been operating in the background.
Yes, sir. The high value add programs are ultimately the driver of the value in our organization. So that ties to the Gunnison Copper Project. So that is the large open pit that we have on our site. It's about 1.5 miles south of the JCM project, so right in the same backyard. And that high value add program is meant to enhance the economics and the operating costs of that PEA that we put out in November of last year. So an excellent project at the time we produced it. 1.3, 1.4 billion NPV, 21% IRR. Very good project, good operating costs, and that's producing about 170 million pound per year in that project. So this high value add program was meant to add, as it states, that value. So we have 3 sort of main prongs of that. It's looking at limestone potential, so the commercial viability of limestone. We've got 85 million tons of limestone, high grade limestone in this project. We want to commercialize that. We want to put that into value. We also have a lot of gravel above the ore body. We believe that there's a market for that in the aggregate world. And probably the most exciting is our ore sorting process. So ore sorting, we drilled 3 more holes. We've taken a lot of time mineralogically ensuring that ore is fully understood. And now it's headed to the ore sorting testing grounds. So right now we're sort of training the machine to understand our ore, and then we'll start running processes through it. So ultimately, we're trying to get a pilot level type of understanding of how an ore sorter works. It's an optical process. It fundamentally rejects ore that doesn't have copper in it and keeps the ore that has copper in it. So again, this would significantly reduce the size of our leach pad, as well as reduce our operating costs, which again would bring a lot of value to that PEA and ultimately to our investors.
So with the ore sorting, you have a possible big breakthrough in terms of the economics here. When do you think we'll get confirmation of that, or more data to help us, understand if this really is a new breakthrough?
Yeah, so that is sort of planned for end of September. We should have those first initial results, and we're expecting them to be quite positive. And with that, we would look to then update the economics of the PEA. That, I think, is the ultimate goal, and that would give the market the confidence that we've actually taken the steps to pull that into the proper technical standards with respect to those results. So yeah, that would probably be end of 2025, first month of 2026. We would expect to be able to fast track that PEA with that new information coming from the ore sorting process.
Okay, very good. And then, final question, Robert, for investors, the market cap about 70 million right now, ballpark. And how do you see the value and the investment proposition here right now? And, how do you explain that to investors, what the potential upside is here?
The potential upside of Gunnison is very unique and very exciting. We have the 2-pronged approach. We're not a one project story. We're not an exploration story. We're going to be a junior producer here in a number of measured in weeks. So that is not what a lot of organizations are able to be able to put out into the market. And we have a giant project just south of that current producer. So those 2 things create a lot of value internally. And we've we've been sort of held back on our growth potential with respect to some of the things that we've been taking care of in the background. Fundamentally, our debt, we've got a plan in place to manage that debt, to kick that out for a number of years and pay off a significant portion of that with our 48C that we've received from the government, as well as the recent investments that we've had into our organization sort of created a little bit of a ceiling on us at about 30 cents. So again, once those stocks are sort of churned through with this exciting news of JCM, we believe the upside potential once those are churned through is pretty significant. And again, we speak to 3 times, 4 times, 5 times sort of the value that just to get us rated to where our peers are, and in projects in that do not have the same sort of economic upside that we believe Gunnison brings to the table.
Robert, thank you for the conversation and the update, and I look forward to being on site 1 week from now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.